Hi everyone. Let me begin with a quick story. Last winter, I was traveling in Đà Lạt, Vietnam. One rainy morning, I stepped into a small cafe, not a famous one, but a cozy corner with warm lights and wooden walls. Before I even sat down, something happened. I smelled cinnamon and roasted beans, heard soft jazz playing, and felt the warmth of the interior. I hadn't even ordered my coffee, but I already felt comforted. That moment made me realize something. I didn't just walk into a cafe, I walked into a feeling. And that's exactly what we'll explore today in Chapter 1 and 2 of the Sensory Marketing, and introduced by Bertie Houghton. In this video, we'll learn what sensory marketing is, how it reflects a shift in how people buy and experience brands, and how a brand turns sensory input into emotional decision. So let's start with chapter 1, the foundations. So, what is exactly sensory marketing? Well, according to Houghton, a sensory marketing is a firm service process that focuses on sensory strategies with appropriate sensory cues or stimuli with the goal of creating multi-sensory brand experiences. In other words, it's about how brands communicate not just through logos or slogans, but through touch, scent, taste, sound, and sight to make us feel something. This is a major shift from older models like the 4Ps, just product, price, place, promotion, where the focus was mainly on function and features. And now, marketing is about experience. Why? Let's take Apple, for example. When you buy an iPhone, it's not just a transaction. It's how the packaging feels, the clean aesthetic, the subtle click when you open a box, even the smell of the product. It's all carefully designed to make you feel that you're buying innovation and elegance. But this shift didn't happen in vacuum. Two major forces in the global environment pushed marketing in this sensory direction. First is the cultural value shift, as in Heart and the World Value Survey show. Societies have moved from survival value to self-expression value. In simple terms, people now want brands that reflect who they are, not just what they need. It's about me, my identity, my expression. Second is digital technology. Social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube have transformed how brands reach us. Consumers no longer wait for an ad. They discover brands through shared sensory moments. From the aesthetic cafe reels to unboxing videos with ASMR sound, everything is about how it makes the viewer feel. These two forces lead us into what Houghton calls individualization as lifestyle. So today's consumers don't want mass messages, they want personalized experiences. This shift is driven by three core desires. The first is self-fulfillment. People want to feel healthy, happy, and at peace through the products they buy. Think of how wellness brands now use calming scents, soft visuals, and relaxing sound in the stores and apps. The second is identity creation. People choose brands like Zara, Nike, or BMW not just for product quality, but to tell the world who they are. A young professional might wear Uniqlo for its minimalist elegance, while a sport lover might post gym selfie in Adidas. Brands are now identity tools. And finally, we have the desire for a multi-sensory experience. Houghton explains that we don't perceive its sense in isolation. We process the whole picture. According to gesture theory, the whole is more than the sum of its parts. When you walk into a store, your brand combines lighting, music, layout, even scents into one unified feeling. That's what creates lasting memory. And these ideas form the foundation of sensory marketing theory. Krishna framework, for instance, show how each of the five senses contribute to perception, emotion, learning, and behavior. There is also the classic SOR model, stimulus, organism to respond, which suggests that sensory stimuli lead to emotional states like pleasure or arousal, which then drive our shopping behavior. But one of the most important concepts here is embodied cognition. According to Barcelo, our brain doesn't just think in abstract terms, it relies on physical experience. We understand the world through our bodies. That's why we're more likely to remember a product we've touched or a place we smelled. To sum up chapter 1, sensory marketing is not just a technique, it's a framework that puts the individual, the sense, and the firm, the brand experience in constant interaction. And now, this brings us to the next big question. How does our brand handle all this? If chapter 1 taught us how marketers send sensory messages, then chapter 2 will explain how our brand receives, processes, and reacts to those messages. Let's take a closer look at sensory brands. Let's begin with the idea from psychology, the Gestalt perspective. This theory tells us that our brain doesn't just process individual stimuli, it seeks the wholeness. When you enter a space, you don't just smell, see, or hear, you feel the atmosphere as one. That's how powerful our brains are at creating integrated experience. Now, Hutton refers to the brain as the black box, a space where sensory inputs enter and behavior comes out. We might not fully see the process, but we know that the brain interprets each sensory cue with the help of memory, emotion, and meaning. So each sense is processed in a specific part of the brain. Vision connects to the occipital lobe. Smell is tied to the limbic system, where emotion and memory live. Touch is handled by the parietal lobe, hearing by the temporal lobe, and taste by the insular cortex. What's important here is not just where these senses go, but how they interact. For example, we often say, this food is smell delicious, but we're actually using both smell and taste to form that opinion. It's sure something I found really interesting. Hutton also explored gender differences in brand processing. Research shows that female brands tend to connect emotional and sensory centers more strongly, while male brands often process more linearly. This has implications for marketing, perhaps why fragrance ads for women focus more on feeling and storytelling, why ads for men may focus more on product functionality. And next, we come to one of the most exciting and controversial fields in sensory marketing, the neuromarketing. So, the neuromarketing is the combination of neuroscience and psychology that explains how we form brand preferences. So, companies they using tools like EEG, fMRI, fMRI to track how the brand reacts to stimuli. But Hutton warns us these tools and the neuromarketing is really powerful, but it must be used ethically. Sensory marketing should enhance the consumer experience, not manipulate them. And finally, let's talk about the Coke versus Pepsi case. In the blind taste test, Pepsi usually wins. But when the people know that they are drinking Coca-Cola, they believe Coca-Cola is tastes better. Why? Because the brand itself, the red color, the logo, the emotional advertising that changes the way the brand interprets the flavor. To me, this shows how branding and sensory perception are completely intertwined. So, what have we learned so far? First, that sensory marketing is a new kind of marketing, one that speaks to all five senses to build emotional, memorable brand experiences. Second, our brand doesn't just receive information, it interprets it, influenced by memory, identity, and culture. And third, great brands like Starbucks, Apple, and Coca-Cola don't just sell products, they create multi-sensory worlds that we want to be part of. As Houghton reminds us, a multi-sensory brand experience contributes to consumer value, identity creation, and lasting memory. Personally, I now walk into stores, restaurants, and even websites and feel the sensory strategy at work. And maybe after this video, you will too. Thank you so much for listening. In the next video, I'll go deeper into the senses of visions and sound and how they dominate our perceptions in service environment. I promise after that, we'll never look at colors or hear background music the same way again. See you. Thank you for listening.